My name is Ella James, and I'm 38 years old. The words echoed in my mind as I stood in the elegant chaos of my mother's sprawling garden. The air was thick with the scent of roses, their vibrant colors a stark contrast to the tension hanging in the atmosphere. It was supposed to be a joyous occasion, my daughter's birthday. Yet, beneath the laughter and chatter, an undercurrent of something darker simmered. I watched as my cousin, Robert James, swaggered through the throng of family members. His presence was like a pebble dropped into a pond, ripples of unease spreading outwards. Robert was a man who thrived on control, feeding off the power he wielded within our family's business, James Enterprises. Today, his smile was a blade. He approached me, offering a grin as sharp as glass. "Ella," he began, his voice dripping with faux warmth. "I've got to hand it to you. Throwing a birthday party takes real skill. Of course, running a company is a different beast, isn't it? Not quite as simple as cutting cake." The insult sliced through the air. I could feel the eyes of our family on us, the weight of their expectation pressing down. Robert's words were meant to undermine, to remind me of the board meeting scheduled for next week, a meeting where my competency as CEO would be challenged. It was a thinly veiled threat and a declaration of war. The days following the party were a blur of strategy and skirmish. I spent hours dissecting Robert's words, the implications weaving themselves into my thoughts like a sinister tapestry. He wanted me out of the company, and he had the means to make it happen. I needed to act. The first sign of his sabotage came quietly, a missing file, a crucial document vital for the board's quarterly review. My stomach knotted as I realized its absence could raise doubts about my leadership. I needed a solution. Fast. I closed my eyes, visualizing the layout of the office, mentally tracing every possible place the document could have been relocated. My mind raced as I recalled every meeting, every conversation over the past weeks, Robert's subtle observations, the way he'd linger around my assistant's desk. Clarity struck like lightning. I knew where it was. I headed to the archival room, the sterile scent of paper and dust a familiar comfort. In a high filing cabinet, struggling against the lock he thought would keep me out, I found what I needed. The document was nestled there, hidden behind older files. Robert, in his arrogance, had underestimated me. I presented the file at the board meeting with a confidence that left no room for doubt. The first skirmish was mine, but Robert was relentless. His next move was more personal, more insidious. A week later, whispers began circulating among the family, hints of financial impropriety, fund mismanagement under my watch. It was a lie, a calculated attempt to sow distrust and erode my credibility from within. I sat in my office, the city skyline a blur through the windows. This was a move aimed not just at my career, but at my integrity. I felt anger simmering beneath my skin, hot and sharp. Robert wanted to paint me as a villain, but he had forgotten one thing: I was the storyteller of my own fate. I needed evidence, something irrefutable to dismantle his narrative. Leaning back, I let my thoughts flow freely, reviewing financial records, cross-referencing transactions. The answer lay in the digital trails Robert thought he'd concealed. Anomalies in the transfers, tiny discrepancies that formed a pattern when viewed together. Armed with this knowledge, I countered his attack with precision. During a family dinner, as we sat around the table, I spoke. My voice was steady, the words rehearsed, yet potent. "I've noticed some unusual patterns in our financials. I took the liberty to dig deeper, and it seems funds have been misallocated, under someone else's authorization." The room fell silent. Robert's face paled, his smug confidence evaporating. I had checkmated him publicly, his facade crumbling under the weight of his own deception. Yet, Robert was not defeated. He lashed out with desperation, playing his trump card, a fabricated affair designed to splinter my personal life, to turn allies into enemies. Emails, text messages, all forged with meticulous detail, enough to cause doubt even in the most steadfast minds. I felt the world shift beneath me, the ground unsteady as rumors spread, laughter turned to whispers, and friends became skeptics. This was not just a game of power, it was a siege on my very soul. But I had one last strategy, one final card to play. My mind whirred with plans, calculating possibilities, honing in on the truth. I pieced together the lie with the skill of a master artisan. Each forged message had a flaw, a timestamp inconsistent with reality. In the dim light of my home office, I crafted my defense. I knew it wasn't just about clearing my name. It was about dismantling the fortress Robert had built around his lies. I reached out to a contact in cyber forensics, someone whose skill set was invaluable. Together, we unearthed the digital fingerprints, the trail leading back to the architect of this scandal, Robert himself. The final confrontation unfolded under the harsh fluorescent lights of a lawyer's office. Family members filled the room, the air buzzing with anticipation. This was it, the moment that would determine the course of our future. Robert sat across from me, the confidence in his eyes replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. I met his gaze with unwavering resolve. The stage was set for the denouement of our battle. I rose, projecting my voice with the clarity of a bell. Ladies and gentlemen, what we've witnessed these past few months is a testament to deception. My integrity, my leadership, questioned not by merit, but by malice. I laid out the evidence with precision, each point building upon the last. The financial discrepancies, the digital forgeries, the web of lies spun with the intent of destruction. The truth was a weapon more potent than any falsehood, and I wielded it with righteous fury. The room was silent, all eyes on Robert. His defense crumbled, the edifice of his lies collapsing under the weight of truth. He had underestimated me, underestimated the strength born from adversity. As I delivered the final blow, turning his own machinations against him, the words resonated with finality. You sought to bury me, Robert, but you forgot I'm a seed. And now, I've grown beyond your reach. The silence that followed was not of defeat, but of understanding, a recognition of battles fought and won, of trust restored and legacies secured. The room held its breath as Robert's facade shattered, his power diminished to dust. I turned, walking away from the wreckage of his ambition, the echoes of my victory ringing in the air. The battle was over, my place reclaimed not just in the boardroom, but in the hearts of those who now knew the truth. As the door closed behind me, a single thought lingered, a lesson learned, a future unwritten. But one thing was certain. I had won the war that mattered most. And with that, the story ended, not with a whimper, but with the triumphant roar of justice served. In the silence that followed, the legacy of the battle lingered, a reminder that in the war of truth versus lies, truth had triumphed.